How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. Everyone is having a lovely day. Jermaine Burton making headlines once again for unfortunate reasons. This time, not going to be traveling to Pittsburgh. Coach's decision, final game of the season, potentially for the Bengals. Jermaine Burton will not be suiting up. And we're seeing the reports, we're seeing the talk that it is got something to potentially do with him not paying his rent. There being an eviction notice for this man kind of coming up through the works. Is it just that? Is there more? Or we cannot be completely sure. One can assume that's enough to say, hey, we don't want this to be a distraction. Biggest game of the season. We don't want you to take that attitude, that worry onto the field, put it in a locker room. You can see it as just a kick returner right now. You know, we don't want to put that on the team. We don't put that energy around here. You can see how that alone could be it. It could be the Bengals saying, once again, figure it out. We don't care if it's the littlest thing. Figure it out because we want you to be on this team in the long run. Or there could be more. We don't know. We do know Jermaine Burton is a heck of a talent. He is a heck of a player. And if you get the guy's maturity issues and you get his character issues figured out, he can be a big asset to the team. Right now, they aren't being solved, clearly. And now is when you start to look around. You've seen how excited the Bengals front office was, Zach Taylor was, when they drafted this man. You start to look around and people start to play the blame game. Bengals, more than ever, these draft picks are starting to really illuminate over these last couple of seasons because of how depleted they are in certain areas. You put a third-round draft pick in Jermaine Burton, who a guy you thought you could figure out. And if you could get him, you know, on the path to success, on the path to maturity, would be your T. Higgins replacement, would be a dominant football player in his league. And we've seen some flashes while he's here. I don't think Joe Burrow trusts him right now, and I think that's a big part of why he's not on the field more. Aside from the character issues, but more importantly, where do we go as far as who do you blame for the Jermaine Burton draft pick? Duke, really, you can blame, again, being where you're at right now. There's nobody responsible with Jermaine Burton, right? You just got to figure it out, and I hope he does. I really do. At the end of the day, Jermaine's responsible for what Jermaine does. And hopefully something clicks. Hopefully he gets the help, he gets the support, whatever it is he needs to be successful. But the Bengals knew that going into it. And do you look and say, hey, this is on Duke Tobin. Duke Tobin, who clearly has struggled drafting. We've documented it well in this channel a few times now. And if you really, what's crazy is you go back and you look and you erase the players that weren't slam dunks, and you erase the players with character issues, that it's very slim pickings as far as great players are concerned, being guys that were drafted by the Cincinnati Bengals. And here is the thing, though. We put a lot of blame, and it's a combination. You know, part of it is Duke Tobin. You say it is partly Duke Tobin's fault because, hey, if you weren't in this position, if you could hit on the draft picks, if you could scout properly, get the players into personnel in, you wouldn't have to take as many chances in the third round to get elite boom or bust players, because you can say, all right, let's be a little bit more conservative. Let's take the team captain. He's a third round draft pick. Do we see wide receiver one numbers in him? No, but we see a Mohamed Sanu or a Marvin Jones that could be a really good complementary too, something you would expect to get in a third round, you know. But you kind of tied your hands there financially, saying, hey, we got to hit on this. We got to hit something because we can't afford everything. We can't buy everything in free agency. So it is partly Duke Tobin's fault. But for me, this one is all Zach Taylor. It's looking bleaker and bleaker for me. The thing is, Zach Taylor might save his job because his Bengals team's going to finish 8-9 or 9-8. If they make playoffs, he really might save his job. But I just don't see it making sense for him. And the more and more you look into things, the reason I blame Zach Taylor, Chad Johnson, Chris Henry, Vontaze Burfict, Joe Mixon, you can keep on going. Stellar Pac-Man Jones. Stellar football players. Huge character concerns, whether it be entering the draft, coming out of prison, coming in, whatever it was. Big character concerns. And Marvin Lewis took those guys under his wing, had them at the very least had them straightened out on the field. Not only did they have them straightened out on the field, they were playing elite football on the field. Chad Johnson, you know, great player. We know that. Marvin Lewis, you know, 2 seasons in already, Chad Johnson was, to say what you will, but I mean, his third season, Marvin came in, Chad win one of what, 6 straight, or makes one of 6 straight Pro Bowls, 5 straight Pro Bowls. Burton, we've seen how elite and how talented he was. Pac-Man Jones, is there anything left of this guy? After all the controversy off the field, he comes in, has one of the best seasons of his career in Cincinnati. Joe Mixon, we remember the character issues for him in college. Comes in, second year, sophomore year, breaks out, 4.9 yards per carry. Looks like the real dude. Remember the hype. And this particular season is the reason Joe Mixon's leash was so long, the reason he got paid, because he had such a talented, such a great season. He said, boy, this is the guy for the future. He looks like it. He looks like he's a top 5 running back for years to come, an anchor to this offense. And then Zach Taylor comes in the next season. We see a massive regression. Mixon's averaged 3.8 to 4.1 yards per carry practically every season he's here. Joe Mixon leaves Cincinnati, goes to Houston, named a Pro Bowler. What's that tell you? Again, credit Zach where it was when he came in. There was, hey, let's draft the team captains. Let's get the guys with character issues. I loved it. Praise the guy. I thought that was brilliant. Good for you. In Cincinnati, we knew the culture problems that were costing the team football games. Literally. Pittsburgh, for example, comes to mind every single day if we're thinking about things. But, it's like, all right, let's bring something in. The guys that are more for the team guys, locker room proper. That was brilliant. And even then, they brought in 4, one of them being Burrow and Higgins, but they drafted 4 guys that are currently starting on this team today with that mentality. And now, again, we've seen it again. It was like, well, let's try, Jackson Carman with the issues off the field. Let's try these guys with injury issues, see if they can figure it out. That has really been the Bengals' MO. Injury concerns, that they fall in a draft. Character issues, they fall in a draft, and they hope they can turn their season around. That's a big thing the Bengals do in a draft. And that's where you look and say, well, you can't blame Zach Taylor for everything. But then when you look and you see guys like Joe Mixon, for example, and you say, whoa, what's happening? Or you look and you see guys really, come around that just don't, whether it be in free agency, they're not meshing. Even some of the offensive line signings where it's like, oh, okay, it can't miss with some of these middle of the pack guys, never really figured it out. It's like, how much of this is Zach Taylor not being able to coach these guys up? Again, Joe Mixon is what really stands out. How much is it Joe? Because, and we know going into it, Joe Mixon was a run out of the single back kind of guy. And Zach Taylor was stubborn to that. Even when Joe Burrow was getting dismantled behind that offensive line, right? And so you wonder how much of that is Zach Taylor not coaching the players up. How much of that is Zach Taylor not being able to properly take these guys under his wing and coach them up and get them going in the right direction. Because we know if you can get these guys figured out, they're talented. And there is a spot for them in the league. Mike Tomlin's a prime. There's a reason the Bengals Steelers were such a nasty rivalry, because Marvin Lewis and Mike Tomlin loved them some character issue guys because they knew how to get the most out of them. Turn them into dominant football players. And to this day, you wonder, well, if Jermaine went under Mike Tomlin, would this guy be right now looking like a rookie of the year? Maybe. We don't know. Hypotheticals. What we do know is we haven't really seen Zach Taylor prove that he can figure out players with character issues. And for him and this team and his organization to be pumped up about drafting this player and saying, hey, we can figure it out, that does go on Zach Taylor. Nonetheless, love y'all's thoughts. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.